Hey, we're back for another season of When Marriage and Purpose Collide.
We share our dating experiences and have our own story that led to marriage.
We are here to inspire and encourage Christian singles who are striving to date with a purpose and have a desire for marriage. As a coach that helps women in their dating season
and guide men in theirs, we will provide you with thought provoking hot topics that can challenge your thinking and encourage you in your single season.
So take notes and Hey, we are going to continue with the episode in just a sec. But before we do, I have something to share. So if you don't know me, I'm Lucretia Haley. I'm a speaker, author, and purpose and relationship coach. I teach Christian single women how to date with confidence and cultivate relationships that lead to love and commitment. So listen, if you're a single sister out there, and I get it, it is tough dating out in this season. It's a lot going on, right? But you may be listening to relationship sermons, even going to church and your church has done a series on relationships. You keep be the one that's reading. You are in the books, reading books from these notable authors that are sharing biblical information in regards to relationships and singleness and all the things, right? You could be watching podcasts just like this one and many others that are out there, getting and gathering all the information you can just because you need to fulfillment and you need to get that uplift to encourage you in your single season. And most importantly, you may be going to singles nights, you may be hanging with your girls, all the things, but you find yourself still stuck. You find yourself in a place to where you still need some assistance. And if you were anything like myself, I did all the things that I just mentioned. I took the notes. I read the books. I listened, right? All the things that I did, but I did not have anybody to walk alongside me on my single journey to share the things that I needed to hear, to tell me how I needed to date, to shield me from what I didn't need to get myself into. So, listen, sis, this is where my purpose and relationship skills come into play because I want to help you because I needed help myself. So, I have two programs, right? Two programs out there just for you. And it's one is called Can't Wait to Date Sessions. Yes, can't wait to date because I can't wait for you to date with confidence, to date with courage, to date with boldness, and to finally meet the guy that God has for you. And what we'll do on these sessions is I'll break you down into phases, right? There's a pause phase, right? Some of y'all are coming into your season where you're probably pausing out of a relationship and you're ready to start new, or you still want to know what's going on. Some of you are dating just to explore, which is totally fine. Some of you are dating exclusively, and some of you are out there are dating and engaged, right? You're engaged and you're ready to be married. And so I'm here to help you out. So we're going to talk about relationships of your past. What are those blocks that may have been holding you back from continuing in your future? We're going to talk about conversations that you should have on the early dating stages, and also your energy on dates and how that makes or breaks, right? The dates that you can have, or the phone calls that you have, the online dating experience that you have. Also, we're talking about choosing well. What does it look like to really choose the guy that's meant for you, right? And so, what you'll leave with in this dating session is a customized dating plan that's going to help jumpstart you in a new direction to helping you with dates that can happen in the future and that you can just start walking with confidence, start walking with clarity, right? No more confusion and no more frustration. It's all about walking in clarity and confidence. The second program that I have is called the Before the Husband program. It is a coaching program, 6 weeks, jam packed with great tools and resources, helping you from your single stage all the way into your married stage, meaning I'm going to be giving you information and we're going to have some discussions and conversations about what it means to be married, what it means to date, and what it means to come back to yourself and self awareness, right? Most importantly, will you be ready to invite the guy that you want in your life? You say you want somebody, which cool, sis. I believe you. I'm here with you. I'm rocking with you. However, if they were to be on your doorstep right now, would you say you can invite them in? Would you say that relationship could last without self sabotage? right? And some of you may have come from unhealthy relationships or in your family, in your generations past, and you're the one who's breaking that curse, right? You're the one who's going to do it the right way. So listen, before the husband coaching is open now, go to and can't wait to date sessions, right? Both are available. So please go to the description, click the link, and I can't wait to have you in the session. I can't wait to chat with you. I can't wait to relate with you. We're going to have a good time and it's going to be a blessed experience. All right. I love y'all. Have a wonderful day. Now, let's get on to the episode. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of When Marriage and Purpose Collide. Normally, I am with my husband. Y'all know, y'all normally are with me with DJ, but he is not going to be here tonight. And that's okay. We still going to have a good time. So
Yes.
y'all know y'all love listening to us. And I hope y'all do. But we decided to go ahead and bring a guest on today because y'all love guests. We be talking all the time, y'all. I know we be talking and you be listening to him, listening to me. We be talking about relationships and going back and forth and all the things. But I think it's necessary that we bring on people who share the same heart as we do in regards to relationships and just life and love. And we wanted y'all to have opportunity to embrace her. So I would like for you all to to say hello to Sonni.
Hi,
Sonni, how are you doing?
doing good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I'm excited to have you here with us. So before we get started, so yeah, I just did a call out actually tell you about how we got you on. Did a
Mhm.
call out on my social media, and a friend shared it,
Mhm.
and she was like, "Hey, did you get the message?" I like, "Sure did. Sonny did reach out," and so I was able to look up her website and just see all the beautiful things she's doing out in Tampa, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, we got to have her on. We got to have her on. Send her the form and all the things." So Sonny, if you don't go ahead and share with us about yourself, what you do, all the things, just to give us a brief introduction.
Absolutely. So again, welcome guys. I'm excited to be here. I am coming to you guys from all the way from Tampa, Florida. So it is sunny here, but as much as people think it's sunny in Florida, it's almost the summertime. So we're getting a lot of rain and a lot of wind. So
Really?
not what it like. I know people have a real clear, like, oh, you see pictures of Florida, it's so great. But right now, the season that we're in, it's sunny, but not we getting some rain and some wind. So we're not liking that. But
Rain and
overall,
wind.
I love it here. I've been here since I was in high school. I'm originally from Virginia.
Okay.
So a little bit about what I do. So full time, I'm a trauma coach practitioner. So I work for the University of South Florida. Um, Fun stuff. We partner with some of the elementary and middle schools, and we coach. We do some small groups with the kids, and then we go and we support teachers and coach teachers on how to navigate behaviors for kids who've experienced any sort of trauma.
Oh, wow.
That's what I do. Um, Outside of that, I'm a mom of two. I have a 19-year-old and I have a 2-year-old.
19? You don't even, what, girl?
He's my oldest, and then I have a 2-year-old.
Oh,
And then I'm also the founder of a nonprofit organization called Heart and Home Community. That is my baby. We are focused on educating and empowering women to develop mental and emotional health strategies. My background is in mental health. I'm a board certified Christian counselor. I'm on my way to be clinically licensed. And so my idea, my goal is to kind of bridge that gap between the faith community and mental health, and really just bringing awareness to the mental health community, but also creating a space where women, especially women of color, can
yeah.
really move towards healing and step into purpose, right? We have a lot that we carry, and we have a lot that we have kind of been learned to carry throughout the years. And so ideally my heart and my goal is really to just empower women to step into healing, and just become the queens that God have created us to be. And so that's the
Mm.
focus. And the desire behind Heart and Home. And so God's doing a lot of great things. I've met a lot of really good people. We've only been established since 2021. And so I've met a lot of really good people through just networking and just God placing me in positions to be around people. I will be honest, I don't really enjoy the business side of running the business. I like to be hands-on. I like to build relationships, talk to people, get to know people. So the administrative and the business side of all that is something that I'm having to learn. So I'm having to be more intentional
Yeah.
in that area. But I really see kind of like just how God is just pushing me in that area and growing me. And so I appreciate that. So yeah, that's just a quick snippet of just me. And like I said,
That's
I'm excited to be here. And yeah.
that's a great snippet. That was a powerful snippet that you gave us. Like it was more than a snippet. Just hearing about what you do inside schools, and also what you do in the community. Like those are both. I can imagine it could both be heavy maybe at some
Mhm,
points.
mhm.
You're dealing with children, kids, and then you're jumping into the women's life of adults, I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
And so I can imagine those are two different worlds, but still the same, under the same umbrella. And that could
Yeah, and a lot of the times what you see is like I see clients, right? As a therapist, I see clients outside of both my nonprofit and whatever. And oftentimes, what I have to remind the adults, especially some of the adults that bring their kids in, some of the parents that bring their kids in,
Mhm.
reminding like, if it's hard for us, just imagine how our kids are handling it, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
like when we think about trauma, like oftentimes we think about in the grand scheme of things, we think about big car crashes, natural disasters, sexual
yeah.
abuse, but things like divorce, it's a trauma.
Mhm, mhm,
Toxic behavior, it's a
mhm,
trauma. A
mhm,
breakup,
mhm,
trauma. Like your dog dying, a trauma. And what we don't really realize is our body holds those things. So there's like a lot of somatic responses that we don't even really realize. And so as a parent, you have to remind,
mhm,
the parents, like, yeah, if it's bothering you, recognize what it's doing to the kids. And
mhm,
they don't necessarily have the developmental skills or the resources or even the awareness to be able to move the way that we do as adults.
mhm,
So going from kids to adults sometimes can be very
mhm, mhm,
heavy for me, because it's like I go from building that to really reminding the adults that you have to pay attention and help the
mhm,
kids build that. So,
mhm.
yeah.
That part right there, because it's so needed. The education on both ends is needed for people, just
Mhm.
for the general, just
Yeah.
people, because we always talk about how, even with the clients that I have too, but we always talk about how healthy relationships, what they've seen,
Mhm.
always affects how they handle, and I don't go as deep as you because I'm of course not certified in that area, but when I'm coaching around relationships, it always pinpoints back to that,
Mhm.
and so their childhood. So now you're able to like teach not only the kids to learn how to, and then to navigate relationships and life and things, but and then you're able to handle and help the women out too. So I
Yeah.
really enjoy what you're doing. So it's
Thank you. I
so thank
appreciate
you. So we're gonna get into more though. I was about to ask you some more questions, but hold on, I forgot that we got
Yeah. You gotta flow.
we got more to talk about. And so normally y'all know what we do is something called confessions. And
Mm.
yeah, so this is the time for us to just talk about the week, the year, whatever high, low point that we had as a confession to the audience. And so the first thing I'm going to talk about is so I wasn't as productive last weekend, and there's a reason why. It's a reason why I wasn't productive. I was sitting here on the TikTok, okay, on the TikTok. I
Not
sound
the
like somebody's
TikTok.
grandmother. You was on that TikTok. I was on the TikTok watching Risa Tisa and this whole 50-part series of Who Did I Marry?
Mm.
And
I
you
haven't seen it yet.
you haven't seen it yet.
Mm-mm.
Okay, good. I don't know if you should or if you should just watch the recaps of it. Have you heard of it though? Of
I
it?
have heard of it on
Okay.
social media, but I
Okay,
haven't
okay.
tapped into it yet. So
Yes, yes. And so the confession is like, I just was like, first I seen it and I was like, I'm not gonna watch this. This doesn't seem like anything that would be, TikTok I shouldn't. This is just overboard for me. I'm not gonna do it. Not that it, not either way it go, either way if somebody wants to watch it, I have no judge club on you. But it was more so like, all right, let me dive in. Everybody's talking about it now.
Mhm.
Like, and I think I'm not a person who likes to go with the trends a lot. I like to be the trendsetter, or I like to just not be a part of what everybody's doing. And I felt like, okay, I got to get pulled in because I want to be able to talk when I get to work on Monday. I want to be able to talk about it on
Mhm.
social media. I want to be able to kiki laugh if I need to laugh. I want to be able to cry if I need to cry. So anyway, I ended up starting it, and I was up literally to the first, like, I think 15, 16 episodes. I was up till like 2 o'clock in the morning.
You watched 15 episodes back to back?
15 episodes, because she's like, it's like 10 minutes long. And it's like you're
Ah,
watching a Netflix. Like, and she's talking and she's very detailed. She tells the background information, like all the things, like everything is all, it's like a story. It's a storytelling. So I'm just like, yes, like, okay. So it kept coming, kept coming. But I was like, okay, I gotta go to sleep. This is ridiculous. Like, I have to go to sleep. And then I end up watching 15 more. Then I finally got the more, like, so yeah. I don't know if it's like it's not bad, not good. It's just that I spent a lot of time on TikTok, and it told me you spent such and such amount of hours more than last week, kind of deal. And I've been cutting a lot of stuff out of my media diet, I should
yeah,
say. Like, ever since I ended our we ended our fast, like, it's just a lot of things I just don't watch no more. A lot of things I don't even ingest. And I was like, I think maybe that might have been it too, because I was like, I told myself I wasn't gonna get into it.
right.
However, it was healthy for me to watch, because when you see all that she's been through with somebody who is a master manipulator,
Mhm.
somebody who, just took her to the deep end, and she talks about it. She talks about what caused her. She talks about, you know, why she did it and why she wasn't supposed to do it, but she knew it was wrong. All the things she talks about, and to safeguard herself, to make sure, y'all, I know I was making dumb decisions.
Mhm.
So it helped me when she said that, to know that, okay, girl, I can rock with you because you
Yeah,
understand.
yeah.
But just how everything panned out, and it was heartbreaking, but it did come to a great end, hearing the end and where she is now. And so I'll leave that. I won't tell much, because people probably like, why you go? Although when people get this, they're not gonna see it. Like, it's gonna be probably a month out until people actually, so they're gonna be like, girl.
Well, now
Um,
you're making me wanna go watch it.
I mean, once you watch, you're not gonna want to stop.
Yeah.
So you gotta make a decision.
Just set aside some time. Just carve out a block of time to watch it.
Just carve out your time. Just carve out your time. So yeah, that is my confession. So what about you? Anything?
Yes. So I am trying. I told you I have a 19-year-old and a
Yes.
2-year-old. And so I am working on this gentle parenting.
Oh,
Um, but my boys ain't gentle. So trying to find a beautiful balance between being the mom that God desires me to be and this gentle parent mom
I like
because
what you said.
they are gangsters to the core. My
Uh-huh.
2-year-old, he can't, like, he has a very large vocabulary to be 2. And there are some things where you can't really figure out
Mhm.
what he's saying, but he's
Mhm.
clear enough for you to know that he's giving you rules. And so he'll say, I don't want to eat chicken, mommy. Okay.
Okay.
And then I have a moment where we're like, okay, Holy Spirit, there's the gentle mom in me, and then there's the not so gentle mom in
Oh
me.
man.
And so
Oh.
after, like, it's real easy to do. Like,
Mhm.
if when you're applying these skills and you're working through things, concept of gentle parenting is just
Yeah.
kind of allowing space and, like,
Yeah.
communicating in a way that it can be received. And that's beautiful on, like, a Monday when you just
Yeah.
start your week, and then but by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, when
Yeah.
he's like, I don't want the spaghetti, and every day I'm like, okay.
Oh, the choices.
Yes.
Oh.
So it's like, or even if I offer the choices and he
Mhm.
doesn't. Now what I've been doing, and it has been working,
Mhm.
because around this time of age, they
Mhm.
are developing autonomy and they are deciding, like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do
Mhm.
that. And so they're really
Mhm.
just trying to figure out where areas of their lives
Mhm.
they can take control of. So
Yeah.
I do offer choices.
Mhm.
Um, and so I'll not with dinner because I'm not about to be out here cooking 7 different meals,
Nothing
right?
either. Short
But
on the cook, right.
yes, but like if you can eat it now or you can eat it in
Mhm.
10 minutes.
Mhm.
We'll do it that way. So I'll
Mhm.
sit it on the table. If you want to eat it now, it's here. I'll come back,
Mhm.
check on you in a minute. If you haven't eaten it, we'll eat it 10 minutes later, like those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you can play with this toy or you can play
Mhm.
with that toy, but you can't take all the toys out and take up, the whole those kinds of things. And
Ooh.
if I give him
Mhm.
the space, he'll make a decision on his own. So that
Mhm.
is working. And so we're
Mhm.
just doing that. But then
Yeah.
it's like we have to add another one. So now it's like I want my choice with the toys and the cars, but now I also and we're potty training.
Oh, yes. Gotta ugh. Not
So
along with that,
yeah,
that fuels the whole emotions for the whole day. Once
yeah.
you
So we're just I just say, pray for me, y'all, because I'm really trying to be.
Mhm.
And my mom was real, like, she created that environment for us. Like
Mhm.
she gave us, we had a voice, and it was
Mhm.
crazy because I grew up,
Mhm.
my mom was very like,
Mhm.
let's talk about it, let's communicate, let's develop these
Mhm.
skills. My dad was like, you do what I tell you to do and you don't ask questions. Okay.
No
So
time for all this.
yes, two very different like
Mhm.
personalities.
Mhm.
So I do come into it with carrying
Yeah.
both,
Mhm.
but just trying to figure out the balance of when to deliver what,
Mhm.
like when to
Mm.
go more dad and when to
Mhm.
go more mom.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I'm
Mhm.
trying to find that balance. So that is my
Yeah.
confession. That's where we've been at for the last few weeks.
That's where we've been at for the last few weeks.
Mhm.
Man, and then
Yep.
I think with that too, because I have a 3 and a 6-year-old. And so both of them are at the stage where, yes, especially the 6-year-old, she's just speaking her mind wherever she wants. And because also I allow her to have a
Mhm.
voice. So now that she has it, oh, well, I'm going to tell you,
Yeah.
kind of deal. But trying not to be like generations past on how
Yeah.
I handle them is the hardest thing to do because I'm just remembering what, my parents would say. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to tell them that. Like, so, but I'm like, okay, nope, got to be different. Got to be different.
Yeah.
So, babe, recently I've been on social media, and as I'm scrolling, I'm seeing a lot of people who are struggling in their relationships. And the main thing is communicating. Like, they don't know how to communicate. What do you say about that? What you thinking?
I know a lot of it's mostly geared towards the men and with the lack of communication
Hmm.
and how like they can't hold one or something like that, or they're not capable.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's just a learning thing. Like, when you get together, there needs to be tools and resources that you can have to help navigate that journey
Yeah,
with communicating.
some kind of structure.
Yeah, some kind of structure, something that you can go to often and then make your own.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where we come into play.
Oh yeah, we got something for you.
Yeah, we got something called the Communication Game Changer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a guide that can help you in the season wherever you are, whether you are dating exclusively, you're engaged, or married.
Even single.
I mean, yeah, even if you're single, you could learn, and it's basically a structured question that you can start asking your spouse or significant other.
Yeah.
And I think it can help those who are out there. And it's really a starting point. It's not the ending point. So if you need therapy, go to therapy. But this is a great start.
Definitely a great start, especially y'all having arguments and nobody's listening to each other.
Mm-hmm.
We got some.
And we definitely use this. We use this structure. Have been using it for a long time now in our marriage, and it's helped us greatly. So
we just want to share it with you.
We just want to share it with you. So go ahead and click the link in the description to get your copy of the Communication Game Changer. All right. Gotta do it differently. Like,
Especially when you think back and you're like, well, did that work for me? When they said that to me, did I listen? Probably not.
Probably not. Or how did I feel?
Yeah.
That's one of the
that too.
two. Like, how did I feel when they did it? And
Yeah.
so it's like, I don't want them to feel that way,
Yeah.
and it's like, what do you say? And then me, and then I know it's a lot harder because you're a single parent. So
Mhm.
you're trying to, okay, how do I be? Oh, no.
Right. Right.
But sometimes I just be quiet and let him do it. I'm like, I ain't got the energy. So
I've had to learn how to dig deep for the voice. And no, I really have, because when just started walking and he started talking and
Mhm,
exploring things, he
mhm.
was kind of tested. But
Yep.
now if I give him the look and I get serious and
Mhm,
I'm straight, he knows. Like he really does
mhm,
know. He's really smart.
mhm.
Um, you know, my 19-year-old, he is obviously he's grown, but even when he was a teenager, it was like he tested the waters too. And that young man was very sassy. So I was just
He
like, you
tested
know,
waters too.
yes,
Oh gosh.
he did.
Oh my gosh, the age dynamics though, like
Mhm.
parenting a 19 and a 2-year-old, I'm sure is out of this world. Like,
Yes,
but hey, you rocking it. Just to
look,
see
we're
you
doing
here,
we
you
ain't got
still
no
got a
choice. We'll have no choice.
you got a smile on your face, you working it out. Like, I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you. So but thank you so much for sharing your
Yeah.
confession. Like, that's a whole podcast episode in itself.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
gentle parenting or not gentle parenting? That's the question.
That is the question.
So, yes. So, as you know, this podcast focuses on marriage and purpose and working alongside singles or encouraging them in their season as they desire marriage and love for their life. And so, yeah, so we have a few questions that we like to ask our guests. And
Mhm.
so, when you're thinking about marriage and purpose colliding, like what does that truly mean to you?
So when I was thinking about marriage and purpose colliding,
Hmm.
um, I think of so when I hear the word like collide, I think of things coming together. I think of like crashing together. And so I'll for the sake of just like defining it, I'll use
Yeah.
very simply the word collision. And so when I think of like
Mm,
marriage and purpose crashing together, like coming together,
yeah.
I think of like the outcome of it being like the epitome of two people coming together, walking in divine purpose, walking in God's perfect will for them, and
Mhm.
bringing glory and honor to the kingdom in a way that
Wow.
brings honor to Him. So
Yeah.
that's simply put, that's just
Mm,
kind of how I define that.
mhm, mhm.
Um, I think we're each individually created to be used by God. Um,
Mm.
and so when we come together in under that covenant of marriage and we're both walking in a walking towards God, I think,
Ooh.
I think my pastor outlined it one time, because we're currently in a series, a dating series right
Oh,
now.
okay.
And he outlined it. He did a demonstration of a husband walking towards God and a wife walking towards God, and then
Mm.
God just kind of meeting them at
Yeah.
the feet. And so that's what I think of. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I mean, because both of our eyes are on God and we
Mhm.
both aspire to be kingdom, have a kingdom marriage and be
Yeah.
kingdom builders, like, that's what it should look like.
Yeah.
That's what it should look like. So
God should. Yeah. Yeah.
oh, it should, but I liked your perspective on that. We just love asking that just as a
Mhm.
starter to see where folks' minds go and also, like, how they see marriage and
Yeah.
purpose collide. So thank you for that. And so, I kinda told them how you got to come on the podcast today, but really what compelled you to actually join the conversation today? Like, what was like, "You know what? I can make the choice to do this."
I love talking about relationships. I love building relationships,
Okay.
platonic ones, romance. Like I just love
Mhm,
relationships.
mhm,
I have a passion for people. I love a great redemption story. I love
mm,
when I see couples struggling and then God does a work in them and then they come together. And so like this is my kind of conversation. And
yeah,
so my purest desire, I didn't grow up seeing a lot of healthy
okay.
relationships. That's not my background. So when I see it, it gives me hope. And so
Mhm,
when I'm in those conversations, I'm like, yes, let's talk about it. Let's point
mhm,
out what's healthy and what's not. Because I don't believe oftentimes I think unless we're exposed to something different, unless we know something different,
mhm,
what we do is what we do, and we don't really seek out the
mhm,
extra effort and extra information to educate ourselves on something
mhm,
different. And so, yeah, I let's have this conversation. How can I be a part of conversations that talk about healthy marriages and purpose and being
mhm,
healthy and all the things?
yep.
So yeah, yeah.
It's important. I did a post the other day, I stitched it on TikTok about let's talk about healthy relationships. There's a lot of
Mhm.
people out here talking about the toxic or talking about what they're going through, the unhealthy side of the relationship. They'll go quickly do a live about it. They'll quickly get on and just talk about all the things which is do what you do. But a lot of people, that's what they're seeing, but not a lot of people are seeing the healthy side of it,
Yeah.
or even like you said, the redemption story in that, to know that I can overcome and
Mhm.
get through that. And so that's what I love about relationships as well, being able to see that. And it's crazy because you wouldn't have asked me 10 years ago if I would be in this space. Like, never would I have thought I would be in this space. But like I tell a lot of the women that I coach, or even I'm talking on platforms, God did a work in me once I got married. So I had a whole other vision and desire, in my life of what I wanted to do. But when I got married, God flipped a switch
Mm.
on me and was like, you need to tell people your story to other people who are going or in the same shoes as you when you were single. And I was like, but I don't know how to do that. Like, like what's does that what?
Right.
You know? So so it was like a whole change because I was working with youth, I was working with teens,
Mm.
all the things. And he was like, no, switch it. And I was like, "Oh, that means I got to be more open. That means I got to be more vulnerable. That means
Mhm.
I got to tell my story and actually talk about all the things I've been through. And that's not easy. So
Right.
it took a work, but I start seeing myself pull towards like seeing things in different lights. And I've always been the person to where they would come for me for relationship advice, family members or whatever. What do you think? What you think? And I'm like, I mean, like, so
Mhm.
I'll tell them, and so I think that is what encouraged me to stay in the space. And people tell me that you need to be here, kind of deal. So I'm like, okay, God, what you doing? So yeah, so I really enjoy you saying that as far as the relationship piece. I know we're gonna have a great conversation already. So I don't even know if it's gonna be actually about the topic that we're talking about, but
Right, it's gonna be good. It's gonna do what it needs to do.
we'll see what happens. So what are your thoughts surrounding the current state of singles and dating
Mm.
nowadays? Like, what's happening? What's going on? What you thinking? What's happening?
So I mm. Yeah, that's what we'll start with that, right? So it's hard.
Yeah.
And here's what I will say is I think we don't do as singles or even if we're, dating or whatever, I don't think we do a really good job of pulling everything out of that season that we need to get out of that season.
Mm,
And so what I mean by that is as a single person, I think we're either not focusing enough on
mhm.
growing ourselves.
Yeah.
We're not getting to know ourselves the way that we should be getting
Mhm.
Christ like we should. All of ourselves into building a career and growing ourselves in professionally, which is not bad. And so it's not until later in our lives
Mhm.
where we start to now put an emphasis on getting to know ourselves and healing from our traumas and understanding what we like and what we don't like and trying to build a relationship with God, right? And so
Mhm.
now you're looking at people who are, you know, late 30s, early 40s, and that's when they're starting to do that
Mhm.
self-reflection,
Mhm.
that healing journey, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Or in
Mhm.
the single years, you're
Mhm.
rushing to be in your married life. And
Mhm.
so still not doing the work, but you're jumping into something and you're not even sure why you're there. And so now you're going from this relationship to that relationship, or maybe you're staying in the one relationship that you're in and it's struggling because we both don't
Mhm.
know ourselves because we got married too early and we didn't do the work.
Mm.
So I think there is and Paul talks about this in the Bible. Paul says we should be single.
Yeah.
He says, yeah, he tells us why we should be single, right? And
Yeah.
it's not to say, and I don't think he was, and I had to pray for perspective on this.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, as currently being single now, I had to ask for
Mhm.
perspective. Give me new perspective because I do desire to be married, right?
Yeah.
But I think what I'm really trying to do is pull out, okay, God, allow me to pull as much from this season as you need me to learn so that when I
Mm.
step into that next season, because you will step into
Mm.
that next season. I'm ready and I'm
Mhm.
equipped and prepared and I have eyes to see what you need me to see and I have ears to hear what needs to be heard
Yeah.
and in all of that stuff. And so I think we don't do a good job at that. I don't and so I think it prevents us from when we go on dates, we're not asking the questions that we should be asking. And sometimes you shouldn't ask the question because they're not going to tell you the answer. Maybe there's a scenario that you can put them in that would give you the answer that, but we're not able to navigate that because we're so
Mhm,
focused on, oh, I need to do my career and I need to be this and I need to have this business and I need to grow in this area and make
mm,
$80,000 and whatever
mhm,
it needs to be. So I'm not focusing on myself. And then I turn 40 and now, or let's just say 35, and now I want to get married and have kids. And I'm going on date after date after date and I'm checking off boxes and I have my,
mhm,
I'm doing all.
mm. It's now I'm ready. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
because
now,
we're
but
not doing that inner work. As soon as
mhm,
you step in that relationship, everything that is unhealed is gonna be highlighted, honey.
mm,
So let's put the like, and so I think like we're not doing that. And because today's society,
mhm,
everything is so easily accessible. So if it
mhm,
don't work out with her or if it don't work out with him, I can go on social media and I can like a post and I can find somebody else. I can go on Bumble, I can go on Tinder, and I can find somebody else. Or Christian Mingle, Match, wherever, whatever is
exactly.
the things now, I can find something else. And so I don't really have to put a whole bunch of effort in to doing the work for myself. I can
Mhm.
just go to the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I yes. Yes. I just heard something. I was listening to a podcast and she was like, she said, I teach my daughters to start dating early. She says, like, probably even when they're teenagers or whatnot, because a lot of times parents, like, how I grew up or how many people grow up, they say, oh, you're not dating till you 21,
30.
till you get out of this house. Right. All this stuff, get until you're at a certain age or you
Yeah.
out the house. But she's like, I want them, and I want to get your perspective on this. She was like, I want to know how they're going to do on dates now, like start talking about conversations they could have with the boys because they're boys now, and before, so if she gets her heart broken, she knows how to handle it. If she's trying to heal through something, I'll be there for her to help her through that, versus, okay, wait till you get to college or wait till after college to start dating because that's when you're ready. Like,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that? Would you
Um,
think is that a good system, I guess?
I think that it could work because I think we also have to remember that developmentally kids are still not brains still developing. They still don't have like
Mhm,
impulse control, self-control, but
mhm,
they are learning those skills. And so the
mhm,
cool thing about the brain is that it's malleable, right? You can rewire
mm,
it. So I think as long as the support is there, I
mm.
think it works, right? Because you're building capacity. And a
Mhm,
lot of the times that's what we're we don't have that. And
mhm.
it's beautiful that we want to like if we put all of our effort into teaching our kids how to go to school, get education, building the brain muscle,
Yeah.
but we're not building
Mhm.
emotional capacity. We're not building
Ooh.
mental capacity. And so we're not building spiritual capacity. So
Mhm,
we can handle conflict in the business world because
mhm,
we know how to be professional. But
mhm,
we can't handle conflict in the household or at school because we
mhm,
don't they just made me mad. And so what do I do when I'm mad? I curse them out, I
mhm,
punch them, I do
mhm.
whatever I'm supposed to do
Yeah.
because I don't have any other skills. And so
Yeah.
I think by teaching those skills, as
Mhm,
long as the support is there,
mhm.
I think it works. I
Wow.
and I think more people
Mhm,
should consider that, right?
mhm, mhm,
I think we really do come from a generate like my generation. Like I taught like I was the same. You're not dating until you're. My dad
mhm.
said 30, right? You're not dating until you're 30, and I was like, I don't think that's realistic.
Ma'am.
Then he was like, and whoever you marry, I'm not gonna like them just because you marry. And I was like,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So he like went
Yeah.
real far,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
But my mom was always like, well, is he saved? Is he so she wasn't like she didn't
Mhm.
shut the idea down, but she
Sure.
did try to give me these are the things you should be looking for. These are the
Yeah.
values that you
Mhm.
should be holding for
Yeah.
yourself. And if he's not coming with that, then
Mhm.
you shouldn't be. Now, I was a little bit of a rebel, so I didn't always listen the way that I should. And so, but yeah, I mean, I think I like that. I mean, I think if as long as the support is there and the
Sure.
consistency is there and you have the relationship with your child to be able to do that, absolutely build the skill, build the capacity for sure.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's so, and I think that changes the game.
Mhm.
Like, a
Mhm.
lot of us weren't, first of all, we weren't taught that. So now if we do have, well, girls and boys,
Mhm.
you know, um, if we do have our children, now we're like, okay, how are we gonna do this?
Right.
Like, so now you gotta start it so that it could continue on for generations. So it's something that has to be new, has to
Mhm.
be practiced and to see how that would work out. And I don't know how my husband gonna take it if I tell him that. I just heard it today and I was like,
Yeah.
you know what? 'Cause we
Reassure him that there's still boundaries, right?
yeah,
We're not going to put two teenagers in a room and shut the door and expect them
I
not to
know,
make
right?
bad decisions, right? We're still teaching boundaries, but we're
Mhm.
also building capacity. We're teaching them how
Sure.
to identify what they we're
Yeah.
teaching them how to handle anger and
Mm.
heartbreak because it
Yeah.
will happen. People will let
Mhm.
you down. Your friends are going to talk about you. Where
Mhm.
your friends are going
Mhm.
to like all those things. And I had there's a
Mhm.
young lady at one of the schools that I'm at.
Yeah.
Um, and she just came up to me, Miss Sunny, and she was telling me about, one of the little boys at school, and he picked, they're dating apparently. Now,
Okay.
this is a fifth grader. I'm like,
Okay.
I don't really know if we're really dating, but I'll entertain for
Right.
the conversation. But she was just like, he tells me that he doesn't like this about me, and so I have to try to convince my mom to buy me new this because I don't want him to. I'm simply just like, he's not. You realize that he's not the end all be all, right? If he doesn't like your shoes, he didn't buy them. So
Come on.
right. Like,
What are we doing?
unless this is his way of telling you that he's about
Yeah.
to go to
Mhm.
what? Louis
Mhm.
Vuitton and buy you some new shoes. His input is really just his opinion. So we have to teach our kids not to, they
Yeah.
really take that and they really
Mhm.
hold it. And so that's what, and bullying, middle school is
Mhm.
hard. Some of these kids in middle school,
I was
and
bullied, so I
and
know.
they don't, and you don't have the capacity to navigate it. And so I think is build the skill.
Build the skill, build the skill. Y'all hear that, parents out there? Listen, we could build the skill. Look, I'm
Build
rocking
the
with
skill.
y'all. So y'all might have just heard it too. And it's like, what? We
Mhm.
rocking. Sunny got the information and she told us exactly how to handle it. So I really appreciate us.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is something that's good. That's good. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
So yes, I want to talk a little bit about you and your journey to
Mhm.
even becoming like what told you to be like, you know what, I kind of want to do this Christian counselor thing, or like, I want to be, in this field. So maybe walk us through a little bit about maybe if you want to care to share however much your story and background to say, you know what, this is the trajectory I want to go, and even starting your business.
So I I would say I was probably 17 when I told myself that I was going to be a therapist. And the only reason I told myself that I was going to be a therapist was because people were always, as a teenager, people were always coming to me and telling me stuff and giving me their emotions. And some of it was like, I don't even care. The people were always just coming. And I always like had space for it. And so I
Mm-hmm.
was just like, okay. And so I was always like supporting people through that and walking. And then I got to college and I was like, well, I don't think I'm gonna make a whole bunch of money from being a therapist. So now I'm gonna be a lawyer. And so yeah, right. Very
Just
different track.
all the way over there.
So then I started pre-law and I was like, nope, this ain't for me.
Wow.
That first class, I was like, nope, this ain't for me. So I switched back to the psychology route.
Okay.
And I was just like, let me just ride this out and see where it goes. I mean, because I love learning about the brain. I love learning about people. I love learning about like emotions and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And so it kept working. My first job out of college, I did social work. So I worked with children and families
Oh, wow.
directly right out of college. And I
Mhm.
thought I was like, I was like, ooh, my big girl job. Um, and then I just started meeting some of these families.
Mhm.
And I was just like, whoa, the brokenness, like just,
Mhm.
I mean, you just had like just the stuff that the kids were experiencing
Mhm.
at such a young age. Oftentimes, children who are in the system are the result of parents who are also in the system that,
Yeah.
or even if they weren't in the system, they have some
Mhm.
sort of chronic or extreme trauma
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
they're dealing with. And so I think as I just started to like work more and more with the families, I was just like, no, like, how can I help? How can I help?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so that I transitioned from case management. I started doing behavioral health coordination, and so now I'm working specifically with kids that have like developmental disabilities, specifically kids in sexual abuse. Then I transitioned from that and did strictly human trafficking. So I was working with missing and exploited children. So just several just different capacities. And I just always had the space for it. I know I keep using that, but I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just like I just always had the heart to do it. Um, and I would like I just kept moving and I just kept finding. And so the position that I'm in now was actually dropped in my lap by one of my college professors. I was not looking for this job. He dropped it into my email. The job that I was at, I was still in child welfare and I loved it. And at this point, I was doing quality stuff. So I was working more with like young adults and the providers, just trying to support and get services set up in different areas.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is great. Let me just ride this out and see where it goes. But I was not qualified to do any of the work that I'm currently doing.
What?
So
Come on.
yes, I was like, I don't even know if this is going to work, but he gave it to me and I was just like, let's see where it goes. I had the interview within the week of me getting that email from my professor.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, my current boss, she was like, oh, we love you. She was like, the job isn't posted, but she was like, as soon as I get it posted, we'll let you know. And I want you to formally apply. So maybe 2 weeks went by. She sent me the email. She's like, hey, the job is posted. I want you to apply. I applied. I had the job within the week, but I wasn't prepared because I didn't think this was going to like go the way that I didn't think this was going to be anything.
Sure.
And yeah. And so
Wow.
again, I was not qualified to do, I PhDs, these were doctors. I was like, I don't know any of the stuff. I don't even have the vocabulary. I'm not in academia, none of that. But I was like, y'all hired me. And so if y'all hired me, that means I can do it. So, okay, God, what we doing? Because I'm
No.
here now. And so then I got introduced to, from there, I was just networking. And so just meeting different people. Then as I started to work more in this field, as a Christian, I was like, okay, well, how do I do this in a way that's still God honoring and not taking God out of it, but still being like clinically aware of what's happening, right? Because it's beautiful that we tell the person that has schizophrenia to go pray, but that's not going to
That's
do anything. They're still having an episode, so like we can't
right.
still have an hallucination. So how do I bring this together? Then I got involved in. That's how I got involved in Christian counseling.
Wow.
But in all of that, God was walking me through my own journey. So I had my own trauma that I was figuring out. When I first so just sharing a little bit about my story, my oldest son is adopted from the foster care system. That journey was hard. It was hard. We dealt with, behaviors, threats, like all of that stuff. And he has a very extensive history.
Okay.
The whole entire time, my mom was rocking with me, and she was the only one because she was the only one who understood. I had prayed about that journey. Nobody wanted me to do it. Everybody was like, "You're too young. You're gonna give up your whole life." And I was like, "Nope. If this is what God wants me to do, He's gonna make a way for me to do it." And she was the only one rocking with me at the time.
Yeah.
She got cancer, and she passed. And so when that happened, so now we're dealing with me being a single mom of a basically a young teenager, a young man who already has his mind established about how he views the world, and it isn't healthy, and he's getting into, I don't know what to do. Don't have my mom here, so now I'm walking through grief, figuring out that. Inside story with that is the entire time my mom was going through her journey, she passed of cancer. My church was rallying behind me, and we were raising. I had a guy dropped $9,000 on my mom's medical because she was doing holistic. Offered $9,000 to go towards just her medical expenses. Still passed, and I had a lot of people like, if you pray hard, God hears your prayers. If you pray hard, He's going to heal your mom. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm praying and I'm doing my thing, and she passed. So I was like, whoa, I was praying hard, God, and we were raising money and things seemed like they were going well. So what am I missing? Like, did I not do something? Like, so that was hard. So now I'm navigating the loss of that same year. My oldest son went to jail. And so now I'm navigating the loss of my mom, the loss of my son having go to jail, my pastor, my worship pastor at the time, who were also my mentors, they came to me, told me they were leaving. So now that feels like another loss. And now I'm trying to, and then I meet my youngest son's father.
Okay.
And at the base that I was in at that time, I probably should not have, not probably, I should not have been dating.
Mhm.
Should not have been dating. I would have been able to see so many things that I wasn't able to see until later. So we started dating, and that became very toxic very fast. 2 months, 2 months in, 3 months into us dating, I got pregnant. I didn't want to be pregnant. I did not want to be pregnant. So now I'm angry. My
Mhm.
mom just passed last year. I found out I was pregnant on Mother's Day the following year.
Wow.
So I'm like, there was so much that I was just carrying
Mhm.
the whole time. Like, I literally, the only thing that I could do is sing a worship song. In that stage of my life, the only thing that I could do is sing a worship song. And I remember when I got pregnant, like, just being real transparent about my journey, I
Yeah.
had no intention on having my little one. I was like, "This is
Mhm.
not between me not being ready mentally and emotionally to be a mom. I don't have my mom here, so I don't know who to call. Me and him we're not good together. This isn't gonna work. This is not how I saw my life going. This is not for me. I'm not doing this." Um, and so the day that I got an appointment scheduled. The day
Mhm.
before the appointment, they called me as an appointment reminder. And I remember the lady answered the phone and we were talking. I was scared because I didn't know what was going to happen. And she was the nastiest lady I had
Mm.
been to. And I was trying to ask questions. What should I expect? What is this? What's going to happen? Is it going to hurt? Should I bring somebody with me? And she was nasty. She was just like,
Mm.
"We don't do any of that. It's your choice. We don't do any of that. We just get rid of it."
What?
Yes, on the phone, and I was like, "No," and I called my cousin crying, and I was like, and at that moment, it was like I took ownership of, like, my
Yeah.
child in my womb. I took ownership, and I was like, "Nope, I'm not doing this."
Mhm.
And I remember that same week, I was like, because at the time, I was still struggling to figure out, like,
Mhm.
do I pray? Like, how do I pray? Like, I wasn't like I was mad at God, but it was also
Mhm.
like, I don't actually wanna ask you for anything because the last time I asked you for something, I didn't get it, you took it
Yeah.
away, and so,
Mhm.
like, I'm just gonna give you the space to kinda do your thing. It was what was my thought process,
Yeah.
but I remember saying a prayer, "God, protect this child from me and protect this child from his father," because
Mhm.
we were not getting along, but also I was angry. And
Mm.
in utero, whether we wanna believe it or not, our kids pick up that stuff.
Oh,
And
man.
so I remember that being like something I would just speak over my belly all the time, and I was always worshiping, and that
Mhm.
was the only thing that I could do. And that is literally what got me through every phase of that. Like,
Wow.
just if nothing else, I could worship. And then it went from I was able to write my prayers down, and then I was able to start asking for stuff again, and then I was able to get back involved in the church. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of this journey of like me just allowing God to be my safe space through those things.
Wow.
Um, and eventually I did get the courage to separate myself from my youngest son's father.
Okay.
But we're still walking some of that stuff out right now, right?
Mhm.
Because there's residual effects and healing still has to happen. And so, um, as I was coming out of the relationship, when I moved back on my own, I started connecting with single women. And because at this point now I'm a mom of two, so I'm connecting with single women. And I was hearing so many of the same stories that I had just walked through.
Mhm.
Women being like, he's threatening to take my baby and I'm a really good mom. And in my mind, I'm like, honey, fight,
Yeah.
fight. God
Yeah.
did not give you a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. We fight. And this is how we fight. And like, as I'm starting to say those things to the women, it was like, oh yeah, remember, Sonny,
Mhm.
you fight.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then it was just that's how Heart and Home was born.
Mhm.
It was just through that it was burst out, and our first initiative was a brunch. It was a Queen's brunch. And I put it together. It took place over in Tampa, and I put it together, and it was just a bunch of women that showed up. And I had a space that was sponsored. We had dinner that was catered. I found a lady she's a doctor in holistic medicine. She
Mhm.
came out, she did an exercise with the women, and there were other organizations there. And from that, from there, I was just like, okay, we're
Wow.
doing this. Like, okay,
Mhm.
this is what
Mhm.
we're doing. And that's how that was birthed. And like I said, there's still things that
Yeah.
I'm learning, and there's still things that I'm healing from, and there's still things that the Holy Spirit is working out through me, and I'm walking
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing what he's doing, and I'm seeing how he's showing up in different ways. And I'm like, okay, all right, God.
Mhm.
Like, and my prayers have shifted from,
Mm.
because I know that we pray,
Yeah.
because I don't want to, anyone listening, I don't want to deter anybody from praying.
Sure.
Don't not share your desires with God,
Yeah.
but understand and be reminded that he's sovereign. And so
Mm.
he can see and he knows things that we don't. So we might be praying for a certain situation, but he might not need it to go like that, right? Or he might be trying to build something in us or bring something out of us, and he needs us to walk through a certain season. And so now, if you think back to the where Paul talks about removing the thorn from his side,
Yeah.
that's what I remember. All right, God, you're not removing it from me. So
Mhm.
show me what you need me to gain from this. Build
Mhm.
capacity in me, because
Mhm.
obviously you need me to sit here and I
Mhm.
need to gain something from this. So show me what it is and that's the shift of my prayers. And so when I pray, I ask him for, don't get me wrong, I ask him for
Mhm.
stuff. But I'm also like, but show me what your will is and help me
Mm.
with that. And prepare me that if
Mhm.
I don't get what I want, prepare
Sure.
me for what it is that you need me to have, or what it
Yeah.
is that you want from me.
Mm.
So that has been really the shift.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so that's how we ended up here.
All right. Well, we can end the podcast, y'all. It's been great. When marriage and purpose collide, we'll see y'all next week. Man, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Like when I was walking with you in your story, I see you. Like I'm a visual person. And
Mhm,
so I'm just like walking and I'm hearing you say what you're saying, and I'm seeing you even from the place when you were talking about how you like it was your natural at holding a space for people, right? And then you're walking through your journey and you're talking about the education you were doing and receiving in your degree and all your certifications and things like that that you were able to do. But I'm like, somehow, some way, of course, God knows everything and he sees everything before we even do, but there was
mhm,
such a certain amount of protection
mhm,
that he knew you needed. Now, I don't even know if it was like, I need her to go through this too, work with families and work with this so I can show her, she ain't gonna know, but she's about to go through some obstacles,
yeah,
like, but you were able to survive all of that. And I'm sorry to hear about your mom passing. I'm
mhm,
sure you would have loved to have her here with
yeah,
you as you're raising your two sons. But I know her spirit is with you, like her, like how you raise and if hearing how you talked about her in your
mhm,
childhood, like I'm sure there's pieces of her that
mhm,
you take with you as you were raising your two kids. And but no, like also when you were saying how everything, like the protection, just the phone call, you received the nasty lady on the phone,
mhm,
what if she was nice? Like,
right,
you needed
right,
that at
right,
that point so that you could be like, "No, this is not
yeah,
it. This is
yeah,
not it. This is not what I need to do."
yeah,
And through it all, it sounds like you were just praying, but you were praying specifically for what you needed, but also you have people around you, you had a
mhm,
support system, like, those things all make up, like, it's where you are right now, and it's so good to hear that you made it through
yeah,
that you made it through.
yeah,
And so with the story, I like so much, and I want to pull out. I'm like, man.
mhm,
So, so what was it? Now, when we're talking about the relationship with your son's father,
mhm.
like, what was it that actually made you say, like, it's time to go, like, or time to leave or to break away? Like, what in you, did that?
So this is I'm gonna give it, it's a two-part thing. So
Mhm.
at the time that we were going through, for the duration of our relationship, I was pregnant.
Okay.
So there was a lot that I just didn't have the capacity to do. Like I couldn't be on the road all the time and I couldn't leave. I was pregnant. I had a person that I was physically responsible for protecting. And so there was a lot that I felt like I just had to do,
Hmm.
tolerate. Um And I remember saying to my friend, I just need to drop this baby and then I'll figure out what I'm going to do with the relationship. And I remember saying that verbatim. And so as soon as my son was born, um, I just think I got to a place where I was just like, we're not teaching him what he's like, he's not going to learn from us what we actually really are trying to teach him by staying together.
Yeah.
And until he sees something different, he's going to do exactly what we're doing. And I know that because I was that kid, right? My parents stayed together because they wanted us to be happy and they wanted to make their relationship work and they wanted us to be able to come from a two-parent home. But you know what we saw? We saw abuse verbally, right? Mentally. We saw toxic behavior. We saw when we looked at our mom, we felt like she didn't have any boundaries and she got walked all over and those kinds of things. And that's what I was seeing in myself.
Yeah.
When I was in that relationship. And so I think that there was a moment where I just woke up one day and I was just like, this is not what I want for him. This is not what I want. This is not what I want for him. This is not what I want for me. This is not what I want for you. We all deserve better. And until we make a different decision, we're not going to get better.
Yeah.
At that point, my son was 5 months old. So
Wow.
I could jump in the car and I could pack my stuff up and I could put him in the car seat and I could do what I needed to do. And that's what I did. And I moved in with my dad. I called him and I said I needed to come home. And at first he didn't believe me because I had done that several times before, right? So he was just like, oh, this is just another one. And I was like, nope, I'm for real this time. I said, I need you to give me 90 days. I was out of his house in 30 days.
Wow. Wow.
Job, new apartment, all of that.
And and that's the part that I pray for, that some of those that are in abusive relationships or that are in toxic relationships or whatnot, I hear a lot of, what's practical ways that I want to get out. I just don't know how. And some people don't have places to go to.
Yeah.
Right. But sometimes it just takes that one step. It's just that one step. Is that what you would say?
Yeah.
For
And
those who are in those. Yeah.
For sure. And I think the other part is like, accept the situation for what it is. I think one of the things that kept me in it for so long is because I was convincing myself that I was doing this for like, if I can just do this better, then it'll make this situation better. No, accept the role that you bring to the relationship, accept what they bring to the relationship. And so if it isn't working, or if the person's behavior is toxic or it is unsafe, accept that for what it is. We don't make excuses for it. Don't give them a reason why. Regardless of what they tell you, we are all responsible for how we show up in a relationship.
Yeah.
I am not responsible for your behavior. You are not responsible for my behavior. I am responsible for me. And so I have to make the decision that this is not okay and acceptable for my life. And until I make that decision, I'm always going to find a reason to stay. It can also be hard. It's not easy. It was not like, I was like, I had quit my job, sold, got rid of my own apartment to move in with this person. And now I have to do all of this again by myself, but now with a kid.
The thought of starting over fear too, or was it more of a push, like motivated you?
The thought of starting over wasn't the fear. The start of like starting over and it not being what my son needed was the fear.
Gotcha.
Right?
Gotcha.
I've always been like, I'm the type of like, and this is, I say my trauma response is I'm an independent woman. So you only got to tell me once that something ain't, you tell me one time this ain't your house. I'm like, okay, I get it. We're not about to argue. I'm going to get my own place. Right. It's not, but that's not, I recognize that I don't always need to have that response. Right.
Sure.
It was a trauma response. It was a defense mechanism. However, that was said to me several times.
Yeah.
So I had already had like that inner fuel to like, when I can get my own space, trust me, it's happening. Cause I'm not going to keep hearing this again. But the fear was, when I leave, I'm still connected to this person because we have a son together. So I'm thinking about me getting a new partner. How does that affect my son? Him getting a new partner. How does that affect my son? Me moving away. How does that affect my son's ability to see his father, whom he's used to seeing every single day? So those were the factors that kept me in position longer than it should have been. But I think if I weren't considering those things, I think I would have been gone a long time ago. But
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and that makes sense too. It depends on the person. And
Mhm.
like you said, I like how you said that about their trauma response
Mhm.
too. Like that comes into effect. Like everybody doesn't have to have the same response or they
Right,
don't know how to respond,
right,
even the right way.
right.
And so that's something there. I feel like society or we do you think I should say this, do you think we overuse the word toxic too much or we place it in different ways where it's like, okay, are you sure that's toxic or is that just XYZ or is it really a I know in some cases there are some really toxic situations, but sometimes I feel like the word has been used so much and it
Mhm.
just in outside of relationships too. It could be just coworkers, friendships, whatever it may be. Do you feel that way? Like, I felt like people were using the word and overusing it when I'm like, "No, I think they were just assertive." No, I think,
Yeah,
like
I think oftentimes when it's kind of like the word narcissism.
Yes, that
That's
one
a
too.
new thing, right? And that word is being used a lot.
Okay.
The likelihood that somebody's going to be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder is very rare. Not to
Right.
say that it can't happen because it has happened and it does happen often.
Makes sense.
Um, but we all carry
Mhm,
some level of inflated ego. We all carry some level of that. And so I think once we have vocabulary or once we add language to something, we tend to do overuse it. But I will also say
mhm,
that, like you said earlier, when you were talking about, we talk
mhm,
so much about what toxic behavior looks like.
mhm,
I don't think we understand what healthy behavior looks like. And so
mm,
we can quickly identify something that's toxic, but we cannot quickly identify something that's healthy.
got you.
And
Yeah.
so I think we do use the word a lot, but also sometimes we can just use it because I don't like what Sally said about me, and that's toxic. And
Right.
so and so it's like, well, you were also talking about Sally too. So does that mean you're toxic as well, right?
Right.
And so it's like, yeah, to answer your question simply, I do think we use the word a lot. Um, but I also just think it's because we don't know how to identify what's
Mm,
healthy. And so it's very easily for people to
mm,
identify, this is what I don't like. And if I don't like
mhm.
something, then it's toxic to me. And so that's
Wow.
how we've used the word toxic behavior, because I don't like it and it doesn't bring my life peace. Because that's another
Mhm.
word, that's, I want peace in my life and I want this and I need peace and my woman should be my peace and my man should be my, I've heard that a lot too, right?
Gosh.
And so
Yeah.
I do feel like we use it as a filler sometimes.
Mhm,
Yeah.
and if they're not their peace, then it's like, "Oh, well, you don't even know what peace means." Like,
You're
you
not even
throwing it
your peace,
around.
right? Like, you gotta be your own peace before you want somebody to be your peace, like,
Exactly.
yeah.
Like, come on. Like, what? Wow. Okay, so when it comes to maybe, just I guess the women that come through your doors or the women who are seeking healing, what
Mhm.
are some trends that you may be seeing when it comes to those in it could be in relationships, it could be in toxic relationships, it could be what are the trends you're seeing as those that are coming through the doors or that need assistance from you, mainly?
Lack of accountability,
Okay.
that's a huge one. We're
Mm.
not accepting the role that we play, in the
Before you go on, I'm sorry, I
Mhm.
don't wanna talk more about the lack of accountability. I feel like that is something that we need to dive more into.
Yeah, because it's hard,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
so the first thing that I did when I got out of, my relationship was I went to therapy. That's the first
Mm,
thing I did.
okay.
And my therapist, this was a rough stuff situation, and she almost got fired this session, but
Woo.
I needed her.
Okay.
She said to me, "Well, everything can't be all him because you gotta figure out at some point there was something in you that was attracted to that." Yeah. And when she said
Woo-hoo!
that, I was like, "Well, he didn't
Woo!
start off like that." And she's
Mhm.
like, "So you're telling me that when you look back in the beginning of the relationship, there was never anything that he did that halted you, that made you be like, 'This doesn't align with
Mm.
me well.'"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, at that moment, he's showing you that he's not aligned with what God is needing from you, and you still chose to move forward. So what was that thing that in you that was attracted to that?" Right?
Yeah.
And that's where we had to dig.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's where my lack of boundaries. I wanna help people so much that I'm just willing to allow anything into my life. No,
Mm.
everything is not, I'm not going to be the therapist for everybody.
Sure.
Right. You're
Mhm.
the same way you might not be the coach for every woman that comes to your door. And so we have to learn what
Mhm.
is for me, what's not for me, what can I navigate, what can I not navigate. But also just you have to take responsibility for how you show up in a situation.
Yeah.
And to do that, you got to know who and what you are. You got to know whose and whose you belong to.
Mhm.
We are queens. We are created by a heavenly, royal, high valued king. And we got to know that. And when we know that and when we embody that, we move that way. Um,
Mhm.
and so when I say accountability, it's very easy for me to come into a situation and say, my son's father is this, my son's father is that, my son's father, he was
Mhm.
just doing what he knew how to do,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
right? But
Yeah.
what was I doing? What was I speaking when he spoke to me nasty? Was I nice to him back? No,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When he was asking me, hey, please don't do this because that bothers me, was I abiding by
Mhm.
that?
Yeah.
No.
Mhm.
Did
Mhm.
I put the work in before I got into a relationship to heal from the grief that I was already
Mhm.
experiencing? No.
Mhm.
Was I having sex with him when I shouldn't?
Mhm.
Yes. Like
Mhm.
those kinds of things, right? Like, so it's like we have to, and it's not, what we're not saying is that the reason why you're experiencing these bad things is because of this bad decision. We're not saying that. It's not your fault that he's abusing
Right.
you, all of that. That's not what
Yeah.
we're saying.
Yeah.
But we are saying that you have to do the work for you so
Mhm.
that when you show up well, you know what your line, you know what your boundary is.
Mhm.
Um, because the purpose of a boundary isn't to control someone else's behavior, it's to protect your space. And when you
Yeah.
have those boundaries, you invite anything into your space, and people are going to do what you allow them to do.
Mhm.
You don't put the boundary there. Or if
Mhm.
you say, this is my boundary, but you don't act on that, it's
Mhm.
just words.
Yeah.
It's our job to say, no, this is the boundary. If you cross it, I will remove myself from the
Yeah.
situation.
Mhm.
So that's what I see a lot in with the lack of accountability. It's very much so we put the blame on the
Mhm.
individual that hurt us. Yeah.
Wow. That's key. And I think I hear that a lot, or I've been hearing that where um that it's in dating and relationships, I've been hearing from men who've been saying, "I've been with women," and this is this is another I don't it's not a toxic podcast, but, it's a man's perspective,
Yeah.
and so he was being open. He says, "I think a lot of women haven't been held accountable." It's a lot of we're putting a lot of accountability. Men, you gotta be this, you gotta do that, you gotta show up, you gotta be a leader, da 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 for the men, 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 men. But then the women like, I'm good. Everything I'm
Yeah.
for, let's go. I got nothing wrong with, kind of deal. Like, why are you putting me? But really, no, we have to look back at ourselves.
Yeah.
There's something about us, right, that we need to possibly fix, tweak, improve, do something with in order to move forward. And if you can't see that, even if he told you something and you can't see that or become self-aware or even take that in and think about it, pray about it, ask somebody, like you're dismissing yourself on how
Yeah.
you can be in your worth.
Yeah. And I will also add to that, like, I also thought about just like there was a statistic.
Mhm.
Have you ever seen the show Being Mary Jane?
Yeah.
So I was this was a long, long time ago. But I was watching, there was an episode that came on, and I think, you know how she always gives those little facts before some of her
Mhm.
episodes, and it said like 65% of Black women have never been
Mm.
married.
Mm.
So I followed that like statistic.
Mhm.
So 65% of Black women have never been married.
Yeah.
So of that 65%, over half of that 65% are single mothers.
Mm.
So if you're taking 65% of Black women who, let's just say, are unmarried, and you're
Sure.
taking over half of that percentage are raising children,
Wow.
most often than not, the percentage of that population is going to have some sort of trauma. And it may not be complex trauma, but
Sure.
maybe you've seen a divorce, maybe you've never seen a healthy relationship. Maybe,
Mhm.
so now think about how you were raising kids, right?
Mhm.
And so we're either raising our daughters to be hyper independent. I don't
Mm.
need a man. I don't need anybody to do anything for me. Well, honey,
Mhm.
that's not how God created us. We all
Mhm.
need each other. Or you're teaching those women to raise sons who don't necessarily know how to show up well in the way that God needs them to be, because
Yeah.
those single, they're not seeing that in the household. And
Mhm.
so those single women are having to be everything in the
Mhm.
household. and they're
Mhm.
not intended to carry everything in the household. And so when I saw that, I thought about myself. I'm raising 2.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know how to be a man for them.
Mhm.
Right? I don't have, like I didn't at the time, like, I was still trying to figure out my dad and I's relationship is
Yeah.
very healthy now,
Mhm.
and my brother and I have a really good relationship, but I didn't necessarily grow up with a whole bunch of great male, figures in my life or
Mhm.
healthy male figures in my life, and so
Mhm.
just trying to, like, really digging into that, and I'm like, I don't wanna teach my son that a woman needs to be hyper dependent, right? I don't
Mhm.
like, I can handle everything and I can so my 2-year-old now carries grocery bags. And not because mommy can't carry the grocery bags,
Mhm.
but I want him to learn this is like mommy needs help, right? Like
Yeah.
so I give him
Mhm.
a bag and mommy needs help sweeping. And I'm just trying to create that level of understanding that he's a helper and mommy needs help. And this is how we help each other in the household. And just really trying to find ways for me that I can release that hyper independence because that is my trauma response. I don't need help when things are happening to me. Put myself in solitude, and
Mhm.
that's the devil's playground. Like
Ooh.
that is the devil when he can get us isolated, he can have our thoughts. Our thoughts are then affecting our feelings. Our feelings
Mhm.
are now being coming actions, and so that's how we get all
Yeah.
messed up. And so, yeah, that building community also is a trend. Um,
Yeah. Oh, for those that walk in it,
Mhm.
they need it, or you is
They
that what
need
you
that
advise?
community.
Mhm.
They
Okay.
need and we don't need a yes community. We need a
Yeah.
community that's gonna help hold us accountable, one, but just a community of, like, healthy individuals, like,
Yeah.
people who are like, "Hey, this is what needs to be happening. This is what you need to be doing." And I think oftentimes they may have the community, but the community is like, "Oh, well, we'll just bail you out, or we'll just do this for you," and that
Yeah.
becomes enabling very quickly.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, I would say one of the biggest things is accountability and then helping them to build a healthy community.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when do you sprinkle Jesus in there? Like, is that throughout, or is it in
That's
there at a
throughout because, like,
Mhm.
when they come to us, we're a
Mhm.
faith-based organization, so they know
Okay.
we get down with Jesus, like, that's our homie, we don't do anything without him.
Good.
And so that is something that I address typically in our
Yeah.
consult.
Yeah.
This is what we talk about. Now, I have worked with women in the past they're just getting into their
Mhm.
relationship with Christ, and so they're trying to figure out how to navigate it. So I
Okay.
do ask them if they're comfortable with me praying during the session or at the end of a session.
Awesome.
Most of the time they say yes because they understand what they're coming
Mhm.
into.
Mhm.
But yeah, those are questions that I do ask. But the idea is to really create a support system
Mhm.
that when they're going through something, they can lean into. They have other women that are walking through the journey that are Holy Spirit filled and that
Yeah.
can point them in the direction that they need to go. Yeah.
That's awesome. So do you have a team of people that also helps with you, or is it yourself
So it
now?
is myself, and then I have 3 additional board members.
Okay.
And they all have very solid. So 3 of them are in the social work, child welfare field of themselves, and then one of them is in finance. But they all have like very good. My finance person is really good with networking. So
Okay.
she's really fabulous at relationships, and she just has a knack for like assessing people and seeing what the need is and trying to help meet the need. And so she's really good at that. Yeah, and then I just like I said, this year has just been the goal has just been to build partnerships and get to know people. So that's what I've been
Awesome.
spending the year doing this try around to try to build partnerships and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's key. I know
Mhm.
that is what you need to help build and grow.
Mhm.
So are you is the services only located in Tampa, or can someone out of state jump on?
So
How would it work?
you can do out of state. You just go on the website, you sign. There's a place to kind of sign up and book a consult. We'll meet. It'll be like a 30-minute consult, and then we'll just see if we're a good fit, and we go from there. I do also have so we do our Queen's brunch.
Mhm.
I'm also working on putting together. I really want to do a prayer picnic. And
Ooh.
so what that'll look like is just we get together for a picnic time and we just pray. And so we pray and we connect and we invite the Holy Spirit into what we're doing. And so that's the next initiative. And then we do also have something called I call them heart checks. And what they are is they're small groups. So they're accountability groups.
Mhm.
And they're broken down into financial health, spiritual health, mental and emotional health, physical health. Um, and I have leaders that run that. It's
Mhm.
run the same way that you would do like small groups in a church, and women can sign up in there.
Mhm.
So yeah, those are kind of like the three things that we're kind of focusing on now.
Yeah.
The next big thing is really going to be getting into churches and trying to train churches and spiritual or ministry leads on
Mhm.
just what to look out for and how to have conversations around mental health.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of people that are coming into the church that are really, they're either taking care of someone that has mental health, they're struggling with mental health, they know someone with mental health,
Mhm.
and those conversations needed to be they need to be had and they need to be circulated more. And so just really equipping people within the church community to have those conversations and what to look out
Mhm.
for when you are navigating someone that is dealing with mental health.
It is so key. It is so key, for that, and oftentimes, I I wonder about the exodus that's happening from a lot of the churches, is
Mhm.
if some of the churches are handling mental health well, you know? Like,
I
it's a
think
lot
it's
of
hard.
people leaving, you know. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's hard just because we don't. It's hard because we don't know how to like. And I say this with so much love in my heart, but sometimes we just get too Christiany,
Yeah.
and so it's everything is like I don't. I'm not going to take medicine because God's going to heal me. And I'm not at all taking away his ability to heal you because he can
Yeah.
and he will.
Mhm,
But he
mhm,
also created doctors.
mhm.
And he
Right.
created doctors to be able to take medicine. And
Right.
so it's like we're forgetting like the practical that God has given us in the Bible, right?
Mhm,
And so when we talk about things like how to protect our mind. Well, he
mm,
tells us the things that we're supposed to be thinking about in the Bible. And so
mm,
when we're allowing certain things into our headspace, we're wondering why intrusive thoughts are real, right? And
mhm.
so they come in and so what do? We take that thought captive. Well,
Yep.
what does
Yeah.
that look like? Because
Yeah.
how do if I don't know how to take a thought captive, like what do I do? Well, that can look
Woo.
like putting post-its all over your wall that have the word of God all over it, or putting
Mhm,
affirmations on your wall. And when that thought comes in your mind, you're looking at that affirmation that says, God
mhm.
did not give me a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power,
Come
love, and
on.
it's
Yeah.
those kinds of things that's practical application that you can equip your congregation with that helps them move through these things because it's real, it's happening.
Mhm, mhm,
And I think it's just we don't know how to help, but we do know how to give Bible. And so it's really easy to give
mhm,
Bible, but when someone doesn't understand it,
mhm.
they're not gonna go deep into it, right?
Yeah.
I always say one of the things I love about my pastor is that he's very practical.
Mm.
And so he is the type of pastor that will spend the entire sermon breaking down a verse
Mm.
word by word, giving us the Hebrew definition of it and how that applies to not to today, and giving us three things that you can do. And I love that because I think people need that. That's how
Yeah.
you make the word of God practical in your life.
Mhm, mhm.
And so how do we do that with mental health? And it
Yeah.
starts by having the conversations
Mhm.
and getting people to understand that this is a real thing that people are experiencing.
Yeah.
Suicide is real
Yeah.
and it happens in the church. Anxiety
Happy
is real.
with
And
leaders.
yeah. And so until we create a space where they're comfortable enough admitting that and
Mhm.
having that conversation, it's going to keep happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see you taking that by storm and just going in and really breaking that down
But
because
churches are some of
yeah.
the hardest organizations to penetrate. And
Whew.
that is where I'm like, okay, God, you got to make a way. If you
You
want
have to
me in
make a
there, you
way.
got to open that door because they are some of the hardest.
Yeah.
Which I get. I
Mhm.
get it's hard.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's not an
Mhm.
easy thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it goes along with too, like, it's a when you have discipleship, it should be coupled along, like, it should be just be,
Mhm.
"And we also offer," or, "And we also have this, let's talk about this,"
Mhm.
like, hand in hand, you
Mhm.
know? Like, we're building this, like, "Okay, we gotta make disciples." Okay,
Right.
and, you
Right.
know, let's
Right.
help make people emotionally healthy and
Right.
mentally healthy too,
Right.
you know? It goes together. I think our church is going through a book right now called, Emotional Healthy Discipleship, and
Mhm.
so it really dives deep. It's really good book, and it's, we're in community groups with it, but he's like, "No, we need to talk about this, you
Yeah.
know, mental health and discipleship,
Yeah.
you know, all the things."
Yeah.
So, I believe it's key when you're talking about I think we need it, and I
Yeah.
know we need it, you know we need it, but it's just it's gotta be a space where it's like open the floodgates are open up to where you could come in and
Yeah.
just it is teaching people. So I really appreciate this time. It's so much more that I
Yeah.
could talk about, that I could throw at you, but we'd be here for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And you got kids, I got kids. So
Yeah.
do that. But if there's anything, that you want to share as last bits and pieces for our audience, for those who are maybe seeking relationships, that have maybe been in toxic ones, or maybe are maybe in one right now, what
Mhm.
are some words of encouragement or anything you want to tell the people while you have time?
Um, the first thing that I would just say is remember who you are and whose you are.
Okay.
And I think that's important because when we really look inward and we really love ourselves and we really begin to appreciate the way that God created us, we show up for ourselves better. We can't expect other people to show up for us in a way that we won't show up for ourselves. And so until you're willing to show up for yourself better, yeah,
Yeah.
you got to be willing to show up for yourself
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
And I will also say God sees, and he that's not his perfect will for your life, and he wants better for you. And so invite him into the situation, because he sees, and he will equip you and put the necessary people in place to get you out, or to get you wherever you need to go, to get you to that next level, because he does have a divine purpose on your life. We call all the women who come through our community, we call them queens.
Oh,
We call them queens because that's who we are created to be, and we need to step into that.
yeah.
So step into your queendom.
Step into your queendom. That's amazing.
Yep.
So, how can people reach out to you if they're listening to you and they're like, "This girl, man, I need to get on it." How can they reach you? What's the contact information or whatnot?
Yeah. So if you want to learn more about Heart and Home Community Heart and Home Community, you can go to itstheheart.org. So again, it's theheart.org. You can also follow us and connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Heart and Home Community Inc. Message me on there. I'll get back to you. Somebody from the team will get back to you if it's not directly me. Typically it is me. So you'll probably be having direct conversations with me. But yeah, just reach out. We also have, I created an ebook it's called the Heart Health Scripture Booklet. And so what it is, it's a small 16-page like ebook. And I break down the most common mental health concerns that is experiences within the church community. We give a biblical definition of what that is. We give a clinical definition of what it is. Then we give people in the Bible who have walked through that and walked that out. Then we give Bible verses that we can speak over our life as it pertains to that thing. And then at the very end of that book, we give affirmations that are assigned to each one of those things that we can put on our wall, put in our car. I have Post-its literally on my steering wheel. That's how serious this is. So when I get in the car, there's a Post-it right there of mine reminding me of who I've been created to be, because Satan really will he will try to attack our mind. So I just went on another tangent there. Yes, if you want to get in connect with us on social media, it's the heartandhomecommunity.org, or you can connect with us on itstheheart.org.
I know what I'm about to get now. I'm about to get that ebook. I'm about to go ahead and get that ebook that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And of course, everything that you mentioned will be in our description on the podcast platforms, YouTube and podcast streaming sites. So thank you so much for sharing. And thank you so much for tonight and joining the conversation. It's been great.
Absolutely.
You're easy to talk to. Like, you have a wealth of knowledge coming along with your story, and along with, motivating women and healing, and just relieving them to walk in the purpose that
Yeah.
God has for them. So I really appreciate you saying yes to the conversation.
Yeah, and like I said, I appreciate you having me on. This is great. I love this.
All right, y'all. So listen, thank y'all for joining us. As always, be sure to comment, to like, to subscribe to all the things we got going on. And you'll catch us next time on When Marriage and Purpose Collide. I love y'all. Bye.
Thank you for tuning into When Marriage and Purpose Collide, the podcast.
Click on the links in the description to learn a little more about us. Subscribe and send a review on your takeaways or any new insight you have gained in this episode. If you are a single Christian woman and you are seeking to date with intention and cultivate love in 2024, you'll also find resources and details on programs I have to offer in the description.
Don't worry, man. Resources coming soon.
See you back here for our next episode.